Hi guys, JP from FSiPanel. Welcome to this quick tutorial. I will show you how you can fly quick approaches using FSiPanel 2020 and the beautiful FSLabs A321. So there is a couple of things to do on this aircraft, so I will show you that now, and we are going to fly 2 approaches in a row, and I will show you how easily and how fast you can be aboard with that aircraft to train your approaches. All right, before I forget, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's start from the beginning. We need to select the aircraft and the airport. All right, here we are in our simulator. The first thing you want to do, as always with FSiPanel, is to select your correct aircraft. So I've picked up here the FSLabs under delivery crosshair, which I like to fly. And I'm going now to select the airport. So I'm going to fly today in Zurich. And we are going to position ourselves on, let's say, runway 14. It doesn't really matter on which runway you position the aircraft initially. You can still change that under FSiPanel. So let's select runway 14 for now, and we are going to have a live weather condition. And I want a good light for you today, so I'm just going to put like 1 p.m. local time. Click fly and wait for the simulator to be ready. All right, simulator is ready. So let's click on ready to fly. And here we are in our cockpit. First thing to make sure is to let the aircraft initialized correctly. So that might take a couple of seconds. You will see the screen starting up with the self-test. And on this aircraft, you may have service-based failure enabled. And you have to make sure that you have nothing preventing the autopilot to be engaged, the autothrottle to be engaged, or FSiPanel might fail to position the aircraft correctly. If that's the case, you can clear the MEL item. In order to do that, you have to make sure that you are with engines off, so you could load the panel state on APU or on GPU. You can go to your tech log here, and you should be able to see if you have any deferred item level 1 or level 2, and then you can just reset the tech log and confirm. That will not work if the engines are running, but it will work if you have the engine on APU, sorry, the panel state on APU or on GPU. So you can load it right there. And once you have the aircraft on APU, on GPU, clear your item and then go back to engines running, and you will be in this exact state. Another thing you want to do, it's not mandatory, but it's nice to do, is to set your training weight. Right now we have the default fuel on board, and maybe the aircraft is very light. So what you can do here is go to the menu option, and you have the payload. So if you want to increase your payload, you can set your cargo and passengers right there, or you can just directly enter a 0 fuel weight. So that's what I will do to have it faster. So 56 tons here, and let's take around 5 tons of fuel today for that training flight. Good. Now my aircraft is loaded. Everything is ready. I will make sure that I have my FSiPanel module enabled. That's the case. And now we are ready to start FSiPanel. And we will see together how fast we can be airborne flying an approach. So let's go ahead and start FSiPanel. All right. Here we are. FSiPanel has just started. And what you want to do now is make sure you have the correct aircraft detected. FSLabs A321, that's correct. The airport, Zurich, and now you can select the runway where you want to practice your landing. So let's say I would like to practice ILS 14, which is the main runway in Zurich for arrival, and I want to fly short final. So I just click on short final, and then I have a summary of what's going to happen. We should be on the ILS runway 14 at 4 nautical miles final, and the altitude should be 2,400 feet. Keep in mind that FSiPanel has a lot of different options, even seed, star. So for that, you can go to select fix, but this is not the purpose of that video. I just want to show you how easily you can fly approaches with the FSLabs. All right, we are going to try it. So I'm clicking on move aircraft, and now we go back into the simulator, and we have to watch what FSiPanel is telling us. So setting FCU, and make sure your hardware flap level is set to 1. So in case, like me, you have a TCA master quadrant, make sure your flaps match 1 plus F for now. Now FSiPanel is setting the FCU, as you can see, and the next instructions will be here. Please get airborne and set toga and rotate at 150 knots. We have to do that for now, as we have a nose wheel and nose noise that is coming every time we hit center line lights here, And even though we get airborne, this noise will remain for the entire flight. So it's quite annoying. So the idea here is to avoid this by going simply airborne. So nothing to be set here. You can see that I have nothing set. The lights are off. The transponder is not set. The only thing you have to do basically now is to get airborne and rotate the aircraft at 150 knots. And then FSiPanel will ask you to set your thrust lever to the climb detent. So for now, what we are going to do is go to Toga, get airborne at 150 knots. We rotate the aircraft, and then FSiPanel will tell us to go to climb detent right there. As easy as that. Then FSiPanel will take control and we will see what happens. All right, let's do that. So let's get airborne, Toga, and I will rotate the aircraft at 150 knots, around 150 knots. So let's go. Putting the thrust. We don't need to worry about anything here. The idea is, as I said, just a walk around to get rid of the noise that you are hearing right now. Around 150 knots, just rotate the aircraft, 10 degrees pitch up. And now you will get the instruction, set your thrust lever to climb detent. So let's do that. 2 knots for me, and FSiPanel is taking the control. You can see that I have climb, and now we can see that FSiPanel is programming our autopilot. If the autopilot disengage for some reason, do not touch anything. FSiPanel will reset it after a few seconds, so just watch the show. Now you can see that everything is set. We have the auto brake, we should have the lights, and now FSiPanel is taking care of the arrival into our MCDU as well as the weather. So let's see that happening now on the first officer MCDU. You can see the arrival that will be inserted, the cruise altitude 2400, the approach phase will be activated. Now the weather is inserted. And once this is done, then FSiPanel will wait for the aircraft to stabilize at 2,400 feet, which is what we have in our window. And then the next instruction that you will have right there, as you can see now, aircraft is ready, hold your brake for 3 seconds to take control. All right, so here what we can say, we are in a position freeze, as you can see, aircraft configured for landing. And we have plenty of time now to set our minimum. If we want to update our MCDU, you can do whatever you want until you take the control. So I'm going to take the control, I'm going to land the aircraft, and I will show you how you can repeat the same exact approach without having to go back into FSiPanel. For that, we are going to use the flows, and I will show you that now. So I'll take the control, holding the brake 1, 2, and 3 seconds, arming the approach, second autopilot, localizer, you can see glide slope arm, everything looks perfect. Let's go for landing, and we will see how to repeat the same approach. Okay, 500 feet, autopilot off. And we are going to check our landing report on the second landing. So here I'm just going to show you how you can repeat landings. And of course you can check the landing report, but here the idea is to show you the flow and the way you can repeat the approach. So let's do the landing and we will see that together. All right, speed brake, reverses green, decel, and we are just going to stop right there on the runway center line. So what's happening when you repeat the approach with the FSLabs A321? You are hitting the brake, and FSiPanel will reset that if you are using the flow to repeat the same exercise. Right now, you can see that my brakes are getting hot, and after a couple of seconds, I'm gonna get the ECAM that we have brake hot. So FSiPanel will reset that if you are using now the flows. So I'm going to bring the flows menu. This is one of your joystick controller button that you have set up, or a key combination. And if you do that, you will see on the screen right now that you can run on after landing if you finish your training. So you can do that if you taxi the aircraft, or you can repeat the same training. So we are going to try now repeat the same training. So if I click on it, then FSiPanel will reset everything. So it takes a few seconds. You can see that happening now. Brakes are back to normal. Then the aircraft will be positioned again to the threshold runway 14. The flaps are set to 1, and we get the message again to set our physical flap lever to 1. And then we get exactly the same as before. Please get airborne, set toga, and rotate the aircraft. Okay, so let's do it again. So I'm releasing the parking brake now. I will set toga, and we go for the second approach. Here the idea again, just to get airborne and then go to climb the tent to let FSiPanel do the job. So around 140 to 150 knots, just rotate the aircraft slowly to around 10 degrees pitch up. That's it, we are airborne. We get the message, set thrust levers to climb. 1, 2, I'm doing it right now, and FSiPanel takes the control now. And you can see we are on final. And now FSiPanel will program everything. We can see TCAS is not correct. The lights will be set. They are off for now. So let's see what FSiPanel is doing. See the lights, seat belts. We can see auto brake. And basically FSiPanel has armed as well the ground spoiler. Everything is done for you. So you have nothing to do basically. Just sit on your hands and wait. Next thing we want to wait is for the aircraft to stabilize at 2,400 feet. And then we will get the message that we can take control. So let's see that happening now. You can see 2,400 feet. Aircraft is stable. We are in managed speed. And we should get the message, aircraft ready. Here we go. Hold the brake for 3 seconds to take control. One more thing I want to show you before I take control. If you see a slight deviation on your localizer, as soon as you take control, just move your heading bug toward the localizer to make sure you get localizer captured. So take control first. I'm doing it right now. Then arm the approach. And if you don't get localizer captured right away, just turn toward your localizer. Here we go. We are ready for the second approach. So it took what, around 30 seconds, and we are ready to fly our second approach. This time we are going to land, and then we will see the landing report, and then I will show you how you can position yourself, let's say for vectors to the ILS. So you will see the difference between vectors and short final. Okay, let's do this landing now. Okay, 500 feet. What we will do, take autopilot off now, and I will do a long landing just at the end of the touchdown zone on purpose, just to check the landing report. So let's go on profile, and I will start an early flare as a mistake, and we will float a little bit just to touch down at the end of the touchdown zone. So here we go. We should pass normally the threshold at 50 feet. So let's cross the threshold at around 80 feet, which is a little bit high. And then I will start an early flare, floating, retarding, and I will just put the aircraft down at the end here at around 800 mark. Here we go. Touchdown. Speed brake, reverses green, decel. Let's stop on the runway. So manual braking, 70 knots out of reverse, and I'm just going to stop right there on the runway. Okay, we stopped. Let's put the parking brake and let's see what FSiPanel has to say. Okay, so the first thing we can see is the long landing is not yet red. We were just below the 900 mark. So it's amber. The rate of descent was nice. The touchdown was okay. As we said during the approach, we crossed the threshold a little bit high, 80 feet instead of the perfect ideal 50 feet. And then we can see that the approach speed was stable from 1000 feet to threshold. So this is green. If I click on full landing report, then I will get a full report of what happened here. You can see that we landed on runway 14. We had 7 knots of crosswind from the right. We have a long landing rated. That's long. We should not land that long. After 900 meters, you're supposed to go around. We were on center line, so everything otherwise looks good. We were flaps full, auto brake low. I disconnected my autopilot at 400 fields, and I was a little bit high on the threshold. You can see the maximum localizer deviation. So localizer deviation, as we can see here, was quite good. And the glide slope on purposes, we stay a little bit high. We can see that we had 0.6 dots above at 1.6 nautical miles. So this was right there, the highest deviation. Maximum rate of descent, that was 718 feet per minute. So it's less than 1,000. So we can consider that stabilized. So you can get all this information. And if you want to save it to print it later on, just don't forget to click on that button right here. And now your landing report is in your database. So if you go to FSiPanel under Setup, Landing Report, you will get your landing report that you can open again if you want to see it. All right, so we just did 2 landings in a couple of minutes. Let's try something else. We can try, for example, right-hand vectors for the ILS-14. And this time I would like the aircraft to be prepared for a flaps 3 landing, so I can change the flaps full to flaps 3. If you do that on final, then you will get flaps 3 set for the aircraft, but now it will prepare the MCDU and the AGPWS for a flaps 3. So let's try that. Move aircraft, we are going to go right-hand vectors. Now what you have to keep in mind here, we have a bit of runway remaining, maybe not enough for us, so there is several options that you can use in order to take off. Either you position the aircraft using GS6 to the correct runway threshold, or you can just use that remaining just to get airborne. The idea here again is just to get airborne, and then FSiPanel will take over. So we can see that everything has been set for us. Please get airborne, set toga, and rotate. Perfect. So let's do that. And as we didn't use the menu, you can see that the brakes were not reset. So if you want to reset the brake by yourself, you can do that by going into the panel state, load panel state, and just go engine running. I will not do it now because I just want my setting to remain. So let's go airborne and see what happened. So brake off, and I go toga, and we go now for the third approach, which is going to be vectors for the ILS-14 in Zurich. So with GS6, you could pull the aircraft at threshold runway 14 if you don't have enough runway remaining, and that will save your day. Okay, let's go airborne. Here we are. Set thrust levers to climb. And now I can release everything. FSiPanel is taking over. Okay, setting the FCU. This time the lights will be set as per the situation, and we're gonna have the aircraft on the flaps 1 configuration going to fly the S-Bug, and we should see the ILS-14 inserted. And let's see if FSiPanel sets the landing flap 3. I think we set landing flap 3. So if we look into the setup here for the approach, we should have the weather inserted, and we should see conf 3 enabled. That's it. As well, if we look on the GPWS, we have the landing flap 3, which has been enabled. Now you can see that the lights have been turned off. I mean the runway turn off and the taxi light. So we are exactly as we are supposed to be at that position. Again, aircraft is stabilized, going to S-Bug. We are in manage mode and everything is set. We still have the brakes hot. I forgot to reset it. that's not a problem right now, so I'm just going to cancel it. So now at this stage, again, you are in a position freeze. Aircraft is perfectly stable. And now what you can do is update your MCDU in case you plan to do go around. It's always a good idea that you have an MCDU which is correct. So we are going to do that on that specific approach, and then set your minima if you want. Do anything you want in your cockpit, and when you're ready, hold your brake for 3 seconds to take control. So let's do that. 1, 2, and 3 seconds. What I'm going to do, I will put a direct to OSNAM, which is right in front here. And I will arm the approach second autopilot. And now the aircraft is flying toward OSNAM, S-bug, and we should have a nice localizer and glide slope intercept. So we can see how easily you can prepare your flight using FSiPanel. Let me show you something. If you have the advanced edition, you can do that as well. You can program any failure you like. You just go to failure, and let's say you would like to have an electrical failure. We want to have a generator, 2 faults. Whenever, let's say, the flaps are set to flaps 3. I can set my altitude or whatever, but I'm just going to say whenever I have flaps 3. So flaps lever, flaps 3. And the trigger summary is trigger when the flaps are moved to flaps 3, arm now. And we can see that that failure for the time being is armed. So let's go back into our aircraft, and we will see what happens when we go flaps 3. Localizer is captured, glide slope is alive, runway is in front of us, and we will be able to configure the aircraft. I will do it a little bit early just for the failure and in order to show you what happened in the aircraft. So glide slope is alive, let's go flaps 2. Perfect. Gear down. We are going to arm the speed brake. And now we will go flaps 3. Flaps 3, so this is our trigger, remember. So we are expecting something to happen. So we continue the approach. And let's go flaps full, and we have a ECAM action. As you can see, electrical generator 2 faults. If we go back to FSiPanel, we can see now that the failure is active. So you can go for the ECAM action. If you want to clear the failure, just click on it and clear the malfunction or clear all malfunction. So if I go clear all malfunction and I go back to my cockpit, then the generator should clear and we are back to normal. Sometimes you need a reset. So even though it's been clear, you need to reset whatever was failed. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you have any question or comment, please drop it in the section down below. Stay safe, and I see you very soon for another video about FSiPanel. I will make one about the flows that you can use on this aircraft. So please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. See you next time.